The social studies standard that we're focusing on right now is create a map of Nevada, including human and physical features with proper spatial distribution. So what students are going to be eventually doing is creating their own maps of the state of Nevada. For primary sources, a lot of the time I go to the Library of Congress because their collection is so vast that you can nearly always find something that will suit your purposes. What really drew me to this primary source from the library in particular was that it's from 1866. I want them to be thinking as a creator of a map, as a cartographer. What things will you consider when you go to make your map? Who's your audience? What things do you think they might want to see on a map? What would they use it for? And how does that inform the decisions you make about how you're going to include things on your map? I love QFTs because you get to really get a window into what kids are thinking. I find that the QFT is a really great leveling device for students because everybody can ask a question, and it kind of creates this really comfortable learning space for everybody to ask their own questions. Initially, I gave them 10 minutes just to make a map of the state of Nevada. Whatever they knew is what they put on there.
Well, I put Carson City because I know that's like the capital of Nevada. I have my house, SES, and Walmart.
I included Hoover Dam because we studied about it.
This is the state fossil. It's called an ichthyosaur.
I put Carson City, Reno, and Nevada Museum.
Really, this is just a lot of places that I only know them because I've either learned about them or I've been to them.
Some kids knew a lot. They were putting on names of some of our major cities and towns. Some students did include some physical features. Some kids knew nothing except how to draw the state of Nevada. And so it was a very informative exercise for me as the teacher to see what sorts of resources they might be needing as they go to do their own research and creation. I know usually when we do question formulation technique, or QFT, I usually just show you the image or show you a video or a sentence or whatever, and we start asking questions right away. We're gonna do it a little bit differently today. I'm gonna show it to you, and we're gonna try to save all of our questions for when we get in our QFT groups. And we're just going to do some noticings about what we see up on the board. Take just a moment to look at it all on your own. I'm really curious to hear what everybody had to share, what they noticed, so that we can all hear it out in the group.
I noticed that it kind of looks like Nevada, but it doesn't have a sharp point at the bottom.
It's just flat.
I noticed that it's color-coded with different colors, and then some of them are the same colors.
We are going to be looking at this image a little bit more closely in our small groups. And we're busting out the magnifying glasses today. Yes, I know.
I found Douglas.
That source from the library, it's very, very detailed. If you zoom in, you can see all kinds of crazy small details. And so when I've done this QFT in the past, kids spent a lot of time when they were supposed to be asking questions just trying to process all the information that was on the map. So by giving them that extra observation time at the beginning and letting them have some discussion about it and some wonderings or some noticings, I think it kind of primed their engines a little bit. Are we ready to just refresh ourselves on the rules of the QFT?
Ask as many questions as you can.
We went kind of quickly through the rules of the QFT because they are really well versed in the activity. Choose one person in your group to write down the questions if you haven't. Don't forget to write number 1 and then write your question.
Why are there other states around Nevada? Is this before it became a state or after? Why is there words out?
While kids are working on generating their questions, I don't say anything. I do see a lot of great questions when kids are doing the QFT, but I don't want to say that because then kids think that's the kind of question I have to ask now because my teacher likes that question. And the whole purpose of the activity is for kids to be asking their own questions and to be thinking, what am I curious about and what do I want to know?
How long ago was this? Why does it have a point on the end like all Nevada maps?
Y'all get to just burst out curiosity.
There's some simpler questions like, what is this a map of? Or where is that? Or why is it blue? And then after they get all those sort of easy questions off their chests and off their minds, they get into these really thoughtful and deeper questions like, why is it that certain towns like Carson City is on this map, but not where I live? When they looked really closely at that original map from the Library of Congress, they started taking those kinds of perspectives about whoever created this primary source, what was their thinking. They're starting to dig at that idea. And so that's what I was really interested in seeing. You guys have a lot of curiosity in your brains today. Now I know that you guys are pros at knowing the difference between open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. So after kids generate as many questions as they can, we move into the classifying them as open or closed. Some of these are tricky. Kids have to come to a consensus within their groups on whether questions are open or closed. After they classify their entire list, they'll choose one open-ended question and convert it into a closed-ended question, and then do the same for a closed into an open-ended question. So we're going to move on to one of our very last steps of the QFT this morning, which is choosing some certain questions. Here's how I'd like you to, as a group, decide on your top 3 questions today. The 3 most interesting questions that we're going to talk about as a class later.
Which ones do you think would help us best understand the picture?
What are the red dots for?
Oh yeah, that one.
This is hard. Why can we see carcinogens but not other leukotones?
After we ask the questions and do all that, we kind of reflect on what we did.
Your 2 questions to answer. What did you like about asking questions? And what did you learn? What was really special to me was seeing the answers to the first question. What do you like about asking questions? To see the progression of how they answer a question like that over the years is really powerful, because at the first day of school when we did this question, they said things like, I don't like asking questions. It's scary, it's hard, it's not my job, that's your job. And they felt weird, or they didn't know how to do it. And then to see them really grow more confident with that skill has been my favorite part of the year. All right, folks, head down to the carpet. I have to say, my mind was blown by all those questions that you had. You asked questions about so many different things on that map. So the next day, I pulled one question from each group's top 3 questions to have a class conversation about. And they were questions like trying to get into that heart of who makes maps and who decides what goes on there, and why do maps change over time. Number 1, why is there a scale?
To show you how big a mile is on that map, because it's not as big as Nevada.
I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that maps have tools on them, and here's one that you might think about using. This was really interesting. Why doesn't it have a point on it like all the other Nevada maps we've seen?
Nevada has grown a lot than what it used to be.
I'm pretty sure this is like a really old map, like before the 1900s, and I'm pretty sure that's why Las Vegas isn't there.
The reason that bottom part of our state is missing is because it used to belong to Arizona. The last question I have for you is, do you have any more questions? You could add 1 more question even, just to that list you made. What would it be?
I wonder why they still put the basin and ranges outside of the map. Like, I wonder if besides Douglas and Washoe, if some of the counties are still there.
How did they get the view of Nevada?
Because you can't just fly it. Drones don't go that high to get a view of that.
Especially not in 1866.
Yeah.
It couldn't be a satellite because TVs didn't even exist around the 1800s.
Also, how would you get that shot from the past unless you did a whole bunch of research?
I think it's really important to give time to students to continue asking questions. When we do a QFT, that is like a dedicated questioning time, but I feel that it's such an important activity for them to pursue to really make it a part of your classroom culture.
I want to continue learning about like Nevada and a lot more of Nevada and its history.
Hey, good morning! Are you excited to work some more with those questions you were asking about the map of Nevada? Yes! You're going to get a recording sheet here, so you can go to any of the group's questions that we've seen already, and you can choose any of the questions that are on there that are going to help you do your research to make your own map of the state of Nevada. Questions can lead to final projects, but they can also be questions that lead you through a learning process. What resources do I need to access? And so I have some resources, the EPIC website for books, just to learn about different parts of the state. Our social studies textbook has a little bit of information on different regions of the state. I have some political and physical maps already made, just for them to look at and continue getting some ideas. Some digital resources and some hands-on physical resources in class. There's a lot of freedom and voice and choice within the next couple of days while they're working on their projects.
My map's gonna be a lot more detailed and have lots of more places. When I drew that map a couple days ago, I really didn't know a lot of places. I don't really know a lot of places in Nevada, but now because I'm learning about them.
What I've done with the standard in the past has been really teacher-directed and teacher-controlled. I've come up with really super detailed rubrics. To get a 5, you have to have X cities, and you have to have all these specific physical features, and it has to be made with these certain materials. And they were just checking things off. They're like, I have Las Vegas, I have Reno, I've got Lake Tahoe, I have the Carson River. And there wasn't a lot of ownership over what they were creating. It was just something we were doing in school, and then we were done with it. What I really like about approaching it this way with the QFT and with this primary source is that it's so open-ended from their perspective. What is important for them? What are your questions that you want to have the answers to? What do you want to include on the map? Because that's really why we create things, is for us to express ourselves in some fashion and to make a connection with another human being.
I'm almost finished with my map.
I want to try to recreate the oldest map that was ever made.